So for this week on CyberSchool, as we enter into the first couple weeks of our new year, our 2021, I wanted to go over picking an access control solution as we go through and we talk about different things throughout the year. In 2020, we covered a lot of the individual products, and I wanted to get more into use cases and applications for the products. So I figured that we could cover a good portion of access control devices in kind of one lump sum. So today we're going to talk about picking an access control solution. So before we get into picking a different solution, let's first talk about what is access control. Access control is the capability to monitor, authenticate, and authorize users through a particular doorway. The simplest form of access control that's available is literally just a key, like you would use for your home. That is a form of access control. People with the key can come inside. People without the key cannot come inside. It's very, very basic and simple like that. And then you've got, more advanced forms like RFID, fingerprint, and iris scan verification. So think, like what you would see, like say, in like 007 or some other spy movie where they have to come up and, actually scan their iris, do their fingerprint, spit in something and it does like a DNA analysis, something weird like that. That's super advanced forms of access control. But at the basic level, it's just a way to ensure that only select people can enter through a particular doorway. In the telecom industry, access control typically involves intercoms or some form of that, where, for example, if you're dealing with, say, an entranceway that would be used by just, patrons of a business, it would just be an intercom. You walk up, you press the button, you talk to somebody, and if they want, they can let you inside. Or it can be a little bit more advanced, say like a keypad where, regular patrons or clients could come up and press that call button and talk to somebody, and your employees can punch in a key code and get in that way. So there's a lot of different variants of types of access control in the telecom industry, but they're typically some form of an intercom. So now that we know what access control is, why would you want to use access control? Of course, it ensures safety and security of everything on that secure side of the door. Of course, if you're going to, I used to live with a locksmith, and one of the biggest things that he always said, and one of the biggest things that was really drilled into his head by the head locksmith at that particular locksmith company is everybody's got locks, and you have them for a reason, so you might as well use them. And access control is that same type of thing, where you're going to have some way to lock your door, and that's mainly just to ensure that only the people that you want to have access through that door to whatever's behind that door can actually do that. So it's just a way to control access to a particular building, whether that's, a private domicile, say a multi-tenant domicile, some like an apartment or a townhouse complex or even a business. It's really just a way to control access to a building. It's a great way to streamline and simplify access to a particular building by patrons or employees, because instead of having to, say, issue keys and having to deal with all of that, you can have a dedicated access control system. So that way it's a lot easier to manage. You can add users, delete users, all remotely, all through some sort of a web interface. And the other nice thing with an access control system, especially something that would be kind of in the VoIP industry, not so much with just like, a regular lock and key, you can get a detailed log and list of those who entered through that particular doorway. So in the event of, something going missing or some type of terrible theft or something going on the secure side of that door, you know exactly who entered through that particular door and when. So that way you can really track down any particular issues that may have arisen given unauthorized access through that particular doorway. So where should access control be implemented? The simple answer is everywhere. It's pretty much already implemented everywhere. Whether, like your home example where you're going to have a lock and key to just get into your front door, really any type of doorway is going to have a lock on it. Heck, even your bedroom inside your house probably has an additional lock on it. You've got access control everywhere. So that's the simple answer. Access control should be everywhere because it really already is. But for the scheme of what we're talking about today, it's really regulated to businesses, doctors' offices, schools, factories, manufacturing, government facilities, small mom and pop shops, multi-tenant buildings, single-tenant buildings, what have you. Basically, anything that would have a regular VoIP phone system could potentially use a VoIP phone system access control. There's a really lot of different ways to implement it, and that's kind of what we'll go over today. So what options does CyberData offer? We've of course got our most simple access control option with an intercom. You basically walk up, you press a button on an intercom, you talk to somebody, and if they want to, they can buzz you in. You've got, another kind of simple access control, but, essentially that same intercom that we just discussed, but with a keypad on there. So a situation like that is great for any doorway or entranceway that would be used by patrons or customers. That way they, patrons or people that would be, say, irregular or non-regular users of that particular doorway could walk up and press the button on the intercom and have a two-way conversation with somebody and be granted access, ideal for just regular patrons, your UPS guy, your FedEx guy, what have you, people that sporadically come to that location, or your employees can walk up and then enter a key code and actually gain access to the facility. It would be kind of annoying for a secretary or somebody that just handles answering the phone, who probably has lots of other things to do, to just sit there and answer the door and answer the calls for all the regular employees that are coming in, and have to go, oh hey, it's John, I'm running 5 minutes late, buzz me in. It's kind of annoying for that that particular secretary. They have to stop what they're doing, talk to that person, let them in, they get back to work. It interrupts their flow. It kind of slows them down from whatever they're doing. That way, if you have an intercom with a keypad, those regular employees can just punch in their own key code and be on their merry way. And that guy showing up late, John showing up 5 minutes late because he got a flat tire or something on the way to work, that'll be logged on the unit. So that way they'll know exactly, like, hey, John came in late through this particular door. So it gives a really easy way to just go and kind of provide a simple access control system. You can go for what I'm calling an intermediate access control system by taking out, some vulnerability by having a keypad there, because keypads can be brute force attacked, where, you can just walk in and press 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that didn't work. Let me try 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just trying different codes to potentially gain access. You can brute force attack a keypad. You can't really brute force attack an RFID reader. So an intermediate access control system would be something like an intercom with an RFID tag reader. So that way your regular patrons or clients or FedEx guys from that same example can walk up, press the button on the intercom and communicate with somebody. But then your regular employees, John in this case, can walk up and just scan his RFID card and be on his merry way. Very similar operation and style like our keypad intercom, but it provides a little bit of extra security because it removes that brute force capability that could happen with a regular keypad intercom. And then we go for advanced access control with two-factor authentication. So that way, options with advanced access control, two-factor authentication, really are ideal for entranceways or doorways that would only be used by employees. Of course, because our two-factor authentication option doesn't have an intercom on it. So of course, that UPS guy, as an example, would, have to knock at the door or, have another way, kind of an old-fashioned way to let people know that, there's somebody at the door. Whereas your regular employees can punch in their key code, scan their card, and be on their merry way. And we'll talk a little bit about that more a little bit later. So which access control option is right for this particular application? And there's a couple questions that you have to ask yourself as you're trying to pick the right option. Of course, what are the requirements of this particular facility? A small thrift store, a small mom and pop shop is going to have much different needs as compared to, say, a government facility, which is just going to have different security needs. There will be different people accessing the facility. Say a small thrift store will get a lot of, just random people in and out through the door. They might get, dedicated deliveries, say, like Habitat for Humanity through their back door, or like Goodwill as an example, and all the regular patrons come in through the front door. So they would have different needs as compared to other people. So you would really want to define the requirements for this particular facility and application as you try to pick the right device for this particular use case. Then you want to think about who's mainly going to use this particular entranceway. Is this entranceway, say, in the back, and it's mainly going to be used for, employees or, say, not customers? Or is it going to be really a customer-facing entranceway, or perhaps the only way for customers to actually enter a particular location? So really, the users of that particular device are going to be really important and are a very valid consideration as you're trying to pick the right option. And then finally, to narrow it down, once you have figured out, what are the requirements, who's going to use this, what type of intercom can you put there? Of course, if you're going to be dealing with, say, an outdoor location as compared to an indoor location, that's going to it's going to have you pick different options in terms of what intercom would be right for this particular solution. So let's go through some of the different scenarios. So of course you're going to have your basic access control, scenario or solution for just general patrons. Say that small mom and pop business shop that regular people come up. Say it's a small doctor's office, and especially now with our times, you don't have people just kind of waiting, sick in a waiting room, just kind of sitting there watching whatever they have on TV, reading those old, 10-year-old magazines. People are going to be waiting in their cars, and they're only going to be letting certain people in at a time. So intercoms are great for that, because those potential patients for this doctor's office could come up and press the button on their intercom. They could communicate with the receptionist at this particular doctor's office, answer whatever COVID-related questions they have to go over, and if so, if they want to actually grant this particular patient access, they can by just simply buzzing them in. You've got another option where you've got kind of a basic access control solution, one that would be used by patrons and employees. So that way you would want to add an option for employees to gain access while still allowing for your regular patrons or your clients to still get access to the facility. Then we move on to something that I like to call the intermediate access control level, again, really for patrons and employees. And this would be a place where you're a little bit more concerned about security. Not that you're not concerned about security with the other options, but for the intermediate access control level, you're really looking at a place where you want to remove any potential vulnerabilities for a would-be attacker or aggressor to gain access to the facility. And then, of course, finally, you've got our most advanced access control solution, and that would be strictly for employees. So for our basic access control solution, this is your most simple level of access control solutions. Literally, in the way that I always phrase it when I'm talking to customers or preaching the product to different partners, you want to press a button and talk to somebody and buzz them in. The really basic level, that idea that you have, from watching all those different Hollywood movies where, somebody's standing outside of the apartment, they're kind of banging there on the front gate, hey, let me in, buzz me in, press the buzzer, and then you try the gate and it doesn't work. That very basic, simple access control system with just a regular intercom. These are suitable for most small businesses, basically anywhere that they're really just having, patrons or clients come in through this one particular facility. It's really easy to implement because it's just basically a single button intercom. You register it to whatever phone system you want, and you press a button to have it call something. And we've got options for this type of solution, whether it's going to be indoor or outdoor. So these particular options, we've got two main options when you're dealing with an outdoor facility, and that would be either our SIP outdoor intercom, just, your regular stainless steel, press button intercom, and that would be part number 01186. Or if you want to opt for the video option, we've also got a SIP H264 video enabled outdoor intercom, basically that same single button intercom, but with a camera attached to it, and that's part number 011410. And then, of course, if you're going to be dealing with an indoor facility, we've got an indoor rated unit. Same kind of style and functionality, but just a little different look on the outside. It's going to be a nice, powder coated white unit instead of just your stainless steel industrial chic. And the part number for the indoor unit is part number 011211. So with these three options, it gives you a great multitude of products that you can use for this basic access control scenario. Again, where you really just want to press a button, talk to somebody, and if you want to, you can let them gain access to the facility by buzzing them in by just entering a DTMF code on the phone that you're talking to the intercom with. Really basic, simple, easy access control solution. We find a lot of customers opt for this route because say like a gate as another example that we use a lot of these for, it's only used in off hours, and during regular business hours, the gate to the parking lot is always open. So that way in off hours, you can use the intercom to allow somebody to open the gate, say for late or early deliveries or anything like that. Gives you that kind of access control functionality. So next we get to kind of our basic access control solution, but that would be used by patrons and employees. You still, of course, have that type of scenario where, you want your regular UPS guy to be able to walk up, press a button, and talk to somebody. And if you like them, you can buzz them in. But you also want to have an easy way for those employees to be able to get in through that particular entranceway. And that's where the keypad will come in, because all of our keypad intercoms, whether they're indoor or outdoor rated, allow for 500 unique time-sensitive key codes that can be entered on the actual physical keypad for those employees to gain access. And the nice thing with the time sensitivity on those key codes is it's individual per key code. So for example, my key code could be valid 24/7 because, I handle all the IT stuff. I need to come in at, all hours of the night just in case something goes down, the email service goes down. Whereas, say like somebody in the production crew would only need time in a certain hours and, maybe not on the weekends if this particular person on the production crew doesn't work on the weekends. So it gives you a lot of flexibility with those key codes and a lot of that time sensitivity, which is very, very important when you're considering offering a key code to gain access to a particular facility. The nice thing with this option is it's still easy to implement. It's of course going to be a little bit more difficult to implement as compared to a single button intercom, just because there's more stuff to set up. But in the grand scheme of things, it's pretty easy to implement. You really just have to set up the intercom to register on that particular phone system, set up a number to dial when the button is pressed, and then set up all the key codes. The key codes will be the most intensive thing to set up, but it's still relatively easy. We've got options for both indoor, outdoor, and these are again ideal for doorways that are both going to be used by patrons and employees of this particular location. So for these solutions, we've got basically our outdoor intercom. That's going to be the best option for these, especially in our COVID times when there's going to be so many different people interacting with this intercom, with the regular employees walking over and pressing all the keypad, pressing all those individual buttons, whereas you got your UPS guys, pressing the call button on there. You've got a lot of interaction with these particular intercoms, and the stainless steel finish on these make it really, really easy for your, cleaning crew to go around and, just kind of quickly spray down the intercom with whatever, alcohol solution or whatever you're using to maintain that COVID safety, can just go spray that down on the intercom, wipe it down, and it's good to go. It's nice and, disinfected. It's clean and ready to use. So for these options, we've got two main products that we could recommend for this particular solution. We've got either our outdoor intercom with keypad, and that would be part number 011214. This is basically our regular single button intercom, but with a keypad attached. And then we've got the video variant, our SIP H264 video outdoor intercom with a keypad, part number 011414. Now, while the kind of surface mount option is great and perfect for an outdoor scenario, where you're going to be mounting it, say, on the side of a cinder block wall, like we have at CyberData, or on, say, a gooseneck pole to get into the particular parking lot, you might not want something that's surface mounted if you're going to be putting one of these indoors. Say if this is going to be kind of like an indoor entranceway, say for a doctor's office, or say like a larger business that might have more employees going through it. We do have a flush mount option that a customer could use. We do have a nice little picture of what the unit would look like in a flush mount option right down there, kind of in the center middle, where the unit is just nice. It's all nice and flush up against the wall, and again, just that nice stainless steel finish on there that it makes it really easy to clean. And the part number for that flush mount kit is 011442. So next we get to more of an intermediate access control solution. So this is going to be an access control solution like the one that we just covered that's going to be used by both patrons and employees. So of course you're going to want, your regular scenario where that UPS guy, you guys are going to be getting tired of hearing about UPS, maybe I should say DHL next. They can walk up and just press that button and talk to somebody, and if you want to, you can buzz them in by just entering that regular DTMF code. The same style of functionality that we've kept as we've progressed through all these different scenarios and types. But instead of issuing a key code to your employees, you would actually issue them key cards instead. And the main difference between these two, why would I want a key card when I could just offer them key codes? Well, a key code could be brute force attacked. And what a brute force attack means is somebody could just walk up and start pressing buttons on the keypad. I'm sure, we've all been children, as humans. We are born as babies, we grow up as kids, and then we become adults as kids. I definitely know myself. If there were buttons, I would press the buttons. It really wouldn't matter what those buttons were attached to. If I could reach them, I was going to press them. And that still is kind of carried on as an adult. Whenever I go to big box stores and there's, those little dancing Halloween singy things, and they say, press my hand for action. I always do that down the whole aisle. Everybody hates going shopping with me because I can be kind of obnoxious when I do all that. It's just kind of fun. Never grow up from being a kid. Always, we're always kids at heart. But that's a potential problem when you're dealing with a keypad intercom, is because somebody could just walk up and start pressing buttons on the intercom. Now, depending on the length of the particular key codes that you allowed, say, heck, if you're only doing 3 digits, it's relatively easy for somebody to come over, depending on how many codes you issued, and just randomly press the right 3 digits in the right order to, potentially use that key code. Hopefully they're trying to use that key code outside of the time window, so that way the code gets rejected. But it's possible that, somebody could just get lucky, randomly enter that particular key code in the right time window and get access to the facility. So they would be possible to be brute force attacked. You can, of course, when you're dealing with a keypad, prevent that by issuing longer length codes where, just more digits is harder to enter, so then harder to brute force, but it's always an option when you're dealing with a keypad unit. Whereas if you're using key cards instead, you actually have to have an RFID card for the system to even recognize it, because there's no buttons to press. Of course you can press that front call button to talk to somebody, but there's no nice, light, blinky light buttons or anything on the unit itself. It's just a nice little window where you can scan that particular key card or fob. So it really prevents that potential option for brute force attack. So it really removes one potential way that the units could potentially be attacked as they're implemented there. So then, if you're using, say, one of our RFID intercoms, you use the included Torque security bits, and you're using one of our network tool door strike accessory units, that's probably one of the most secure access control systems that you could go and implement, because there's no way to brute force attack the intercom to gain access. The intercom isn't attached to whatever's actually opening the door, and you've got those Torque security bits actually installing the intercom to the wall, so that way that you have to have a special security, you have to have a special screwdriver to actually get the screws out. So it really limits the potential attack points on the particular unit. You can make it really, really secure, frankly, as secure as it can kind of get. We've got options for this type of a scenario, of course, available for indoor, outdoor scenarios. And these are, again, like we had for our last option, these are ideal for doorways that are going to be used by both patrons and employees. And the options for these are going to be 2 units. We do have another unit, which would be just our dedicated RFID reader. I'm not going to cover that one today, just because I kind of wanted to regment this to basically options that you can use with customers, and then options to what you can use without customers. So for these particular offerings, for our intermediate access control solutions, we've got either our SIP outdoor intercom with RFID, part number 011477, or the video variant, that exact same thing, as you can tell from the pictures here. We just stuck a dang camera on the thing, and that would be part number 011478, and that one is the SIP H264 video outdoor intercom with RFID. We don't have one of these in our nice little powder coat indoor option, so you're just going to be dealing with your stainless steel chic there. But in our COVID times, it's absolutely great because it makes it one easy surface to go and sanitize as you go through, and you clean everything at the end of the day. I don't have a picture of one of these units actually mounted in the flush mount kit, but you can use your imagination. It'll look pretty similar to the one that we have shown there. It'll just have one of these nice little CyberData blue RFID tag readers in place of that keypad that's there. Of course, when you're going to be mounting it indoors, you can, if you like, use our flush mount kit, which is, again, part number 011442. So next, we get to the creme de la creme, the fanciest access control solution that we have. And this one is going to be strictly for employees because this option doesn't have an intercom that, your DHL guy can come up and press the button and talk to somebody. This one is strictly for employees because it offers either an RFID code, key scan, or that key code entry. So it really provides a really secure option, ideal for doors that would only be used by employees of this particular facility. This really would not be a good thing to implement, say, at your front door that would be used by patrons, or clients that would be try to be coming in because they can't really interact with the RFID key code reader. All they can do is basically pound on the door and say, hey, I'm here, let me in. You can't, and that really defeats the purpose of having one of these access control units. If the people that are going to be using the access control unit can't communicate through it, it's not really serving its purpose. So these units can be used individually, either where it's scanning an RFID code or RFID card or using a key code. But for the purposes of today, we're going to be talking about using it in a multi-factor authentication option. And the multi-factor authentication option that we're using is known as something you have, something you know. And we'll cover that a little bit more in just a moment. But again, with all of our units that are designed for kind of employee access, they're all going to have time-sensitive access to restrict the access to a particular time window. So that way you can prevent, say, my key card being used, when it's not supposed to be used. So it's really, really ideal when you're dealing with these types of situations. Of course, this one is rated for outdoors, but you can use it indoors as well. And it's mainly, again, ideal for doorways that are going to be used exclusively by employees. So one of the things that I want to cover in a little bit more depth is what is multi-factor authentication? Now, multi-factor authentication, it's referred to as a lot of different things. I've heard it as the security trinity, where there's 3 different ways that you can go and verify a particular identity. Something you have, which would be, say your RFID card, your RFID fob, like we have pictured there, but basically some kind of a physical token that you have. Then you've got something and this would be very common. We've all experienced this particular type of authentication with your debit card PIN. Anytime that you've tried to go and withdraw money from an ATM, you have to enter your PIN, and that is something And then finally, there is something you are, and that would be, the kind of thing that you would see in all those spy movies where, they scan their fingerprint, they get up close to that reader and they scan their iris, or, it does a facial recognition. It's a type of authentication that would be harder to replicate because it is something with your body. So that could be, again, something simple like your fingerprint. It could be your face scan like you get on your iPhone where, you can just use your face to unlock. You just look at your phone and it unlocks it. Could be, again, that iris scan. But basically, when you combine these 3 options together, something you have, something you know, and something you are, it creates this perfect trinity of security that really prevents a lot of people from potentially gaining access to whatever you're securing with this multi-factor authentication. Dual factor authentication is really popular today. You'll see that a lot from, say, like your bank is another great example. Say if you're trying to log into your bank and say you're doing it at your work computer or something like that, you log in with your password and you'll get a little window that'll pop up and say that, hey, we don't recognize this computer. We're going to send you a code to, like they'll just list, either your email, your phone number, they'll send you a code. And that's where they're generating that particular key code that would go to something you have, so that way you can enter that. In the old days, that was actually done with like a little keychain fob that would just have a random number generator on there, and you would, enter your password, you enter in the number of that little fob, and then you'd be in your account. We've all encountered these multi-factor authentication options just in our regular life, which is great. As somebody that really focuses on security, multi-factor authentication is awesome. It makes, everything that much more secure because you basically have to have multiple keys to gain access to something. But when these options are paired together, it creates the most extreme secure scenario. So finally, the main option that we have for this particular scenario would be our RFID Keypad Secure Access Control Endpoint. And that's part number 011426. And as you can see on this nice little image here, it doesn't have that physical button, nor does it have a microphone or a speaker. So this is really why this unit is not really applicable for entranceways that would be used by patrons, just because there's no way for, just a regular client that's trying to come up, visiting this business for the first time, to be able to interact with it and communicate and let somebody know that, hey, I'm here, let me in. You can, of course, press buttons on there, but that's not going to do anything. So this option is our most secure access control option, really for those at most advanced cases where you're very concerned about what would be on the other side of this particular door. Could be, a storeroom for equipment. It could be, say used on the delivery dock where you've got all the shipments that you're getting prepped for delivery. Could be, say, like for a chemical warehouse, what have you. If it's pretty secure, you want one of these multi-factor authentication options, and this is one of the things that we bring to the table. And of course, if you're going to be using this indoors, you'll want to use one of our flush mount kits. And the part number for our 1 or 1X option, the other option that we were seeing was our 2X option, of course, because they're bigger intercoms. This part number is 011443. So finally, should I use access control? Technically speaking, you already do. We all use access control in our daily lives, but most of the time it's just as simple as that, the key to, unlock your front door that's on your key ring with your car keys and whatever other keys you have. You already use it, so you might as well make that access control system that you use today a little bit more secure. We've got options from, basic security where you really just want an intercom. You can walk up, you can press the button, you can talk to somebody, those basic scenarios. And then we've got even more the extremely secure options where you need that multi-factor authentication, something something you have, so that way you can really go and ensure that the people that are going through that particular facility and through that doorway know what they're doing and are allowed to actually enter there. Then, of course, with any access control system that's built through your phone system, you've got detailed record keeping and logging that's available actually on box on the unit. Any of your regular employees that walk up and enter their key code or scan their RFID card on the RFID tag readers, that'll all be logged on the system. And any customer that walks up and presses that call button and calls somebody will all be in the call log of your phone system. So with one of CyberData's intercom access control units, you can keep an extremely detailed log and record of every single time that somebody came through that particular doorway or entranceway. So we provide a lot of different solutions, and it's a really good idea to expand your access control system and bring that in fold with your new VoIP phone system. Some terms that we went over today was kind of basic. We didn't go over too many big terms, but we'll cover the 3 that I wanted to touch on today. We've, of course, got access control. If you don't know what access control is, I don't think you've been paying attention, but access control is the capability to monitor, authenticate, and authorize users through a particular doorway or entranceway. RFID is just radio frequency identification. And finally, H.264 is just a video codec that would be used in video calls.
Thank you for watching this edition of CyberSchool. If you have any questions, please get in contact with our sales department. They are available by email at sales@cyberdata.net or by phone at 831-373-2601 extension 334. Please make sure to like this video and subscribe for more content like this from CyberData.